I was 28 when I found out that my nephew was lost in the foster care system, and my family, who blamed me for my selfish life, simply forgot about him. At a family meeting, I heard the truth, and this was the beginning of my struggle. Will I be able to give the boy a home and prove that family is a choice, not an obligation? Emma Crow, a 28-year-old graphic designer from Los Angeles, had always loved her life just the way it was. No kids, no strings-attached freedom, and a career that let her chase her dreams, whether that meant late-night sketching logos or weekends exploring new hiking trails. She built a cozy little world for herself, one that didn't need anyone else's approval. But every year, the family reunion in Santa Barbara tested her patience like nothing else. It was supposed to be a laid-back weekend, catching up over barbecued ribs, laughing about old times, and maybe sneaking a second slice of pie. Instead, it always turned into a subtle or not-so-subtle grilling session about her choices. This time was no different. As soon as Emma stepped onto the sprawling porch of her aunt's beachside house, the familiar chorus began. Aunt Marge, stirring a pitcher of lemonade, shot her a side-eye. "Still living that fancy solo life, huh? Don't you ever get tired of it?" she said, her tone dripping with fake concern. Then came Cousin Lily, bouncing a toddler on her hip, beaming like she'd won the lottery of life. "Kids are the real deal, Emma. You're missing out on what matters," she chirped, handing her little one a juice box. Emma just smiled, brushing it off with a quick, "I'm good, thanks." She'd heard it all before, how her independence was selfish, how she'd regret not settling down. It was background noise by now. But then the mood shifted. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the chatter grew louder, Uncle Ted wandered over with a glass of wine sloshing in his hand. He plopped down next to Emma on the porch swing, his words a little too loose. "Poor Kaleb," he mumbled, almost to himself. "Still out there somewhere, shuffled around like a deck of cards." Emma froze, her lemonade glass halfway to her lips. Kaleb? Her nephew? The son of her older sister, Rachel, who'd vanished from their lives years ago after a messy spiral of bad choices. "What do you mean, out there?" she asked, her voice sharp enough to cut through the hum of crickets. Ted blinked, realizing he'd said too much, and tried to wave it off. "Oh, just stuff." But Emma wasn't letting it go. She turned to her mom, Julie, who was fussing over a tray of cookies nearby. "Mom, what's he talking about? Where's Kaleb?" Julie's face tightened, her hands pausing mid-motion. "It's not your concern, Emma," she said curtly, brushing crumbs off her apron. "Let's not ruin the night." But the night was already unraveling. Emma pressed harder, her designer's curiosity kicking in. She couldn't leave a puzzle unsolved. Finally, Julie sighed. "Fine. He's been in foster care. 3 years now. Happy." Emma's stomach dropped. Kaleb, little Kaleb, who she'd last seen as a giggling toddler in Rachel's arms, was 9 years old now, bouncing between strangers' homes. And her family, the same ones who preached about family values over every holiday dinner, had known? She stared around the porch, the laughter and clinking glasses suddenly hollow. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" she asked, her voice quieter now. Julie shrugged. "It's complicated. Rachel made her choices. We moved on." Moved on? From a kid? Emma's mind raced. She excused herself, stepping out into the cool night air, the ocean breeze doing little to calm her. She didn't know Kaleb, not really, but the thought of him alone, forgotten by the people who should have cared, lit something inside her. This wasn't just a family reunion anymore. It was the start of something she couldn't ignore. Emma couldn't sleep that night. The Santa Barbara reunion had left her rattled, her mind spinning with questions about Kaleb. How had her nephew, a kid she barely remembered beyond a blurry photo of him in a dinosaur onesie, ended up in foster care? And why had her family, with their endless lectures about responsibility, let him slip through the cracks? By morning, her coffee was cold, but her resolve was burning. She wasn't the type to sit still. Years of designing under tight deadlines had taught her to tackle problems head-on. So, she grabbed her laptop and started digging. A few calls to Ventura County Social Services later, she had the basics. Kaleb had been taken into care 3 years ago after Rachel disappeared into a whirlwind of life changes, a vague phrase the social worker used, sparing the gritty details. Emma didn't need them spelled out. She'd seen Rachel's downward spiral years back, missed calls, broken promises, and that last awkward Christmas when her sister showed up late, eyes glassy and excuses thin. But Kaleb? He'd been just a toddler then. Now, at 9, he was a name on a file, shuffled between homes. His mom's not in the picture, the worker said, and no one else stepped up. Emma's chest tightened. No one else. Not her parents. Not her aunts or uncles. Just silence. She had to see him. After some back and forth, she convinced the agency to let her visit. Don't expect too much, warned Clara, the social worker assigned to Kaleb's case. He's quiet, keeps to himself, loves drawing. Though, give him a pencil, and he's in his own world. Emma nodded, scribbling the address of the foster center in Oxnard. Her family didn't know yet. She hadn't told them, and after their brush-off at the reunion, she wasn't sure she would. This felt personal, like a thread she needed to pull herself. The drive to Oxnard was a blur of palm trees and nervous energy. When she arrived, Clara led her to a small room with faded blue walls and a wobbly table. Kaleb was already there, hunched over a piece of paper, his dark hair falling into his eyes. He didn't look up as Emma sat across from him, her hands fidgeting with her bag strap. "Hi, Kaleb," she said softly. "I'm Emma, your aunt." He glanced at her, just a flicker, then went back to his sketch. It was a dragon, all sharp lines and swirling scales, surprisingly detailed for a 9-year-old. "That's amazing," she said, leaning closer. He shrugged, but his pencil slowed for a second. Clara hovered nearby, giving them space, but watching. Emma didn't push, just sat there, letting the quiet settle. After a few minutes, she tried again. "I used to draw too. Still do, actually. It's my job now." That got a tiny nod. Progress. When the visit ended, Kaleb didn't say goodbye, but as she stood to leave, he muttered, "You coming back?" It was barely audible, but it hit her like a wave. "Yeah," she said, smiling. "I'll be back." The drive home was different, lighter, somehow. She didn't know Kaleb yet, not really, but that spark of connection stuck with her. His dragon sketch replayed in her mind, a little piece of him she could hold on to. But trouble was brewing. Her phone buzzed as she pulled into her LA driveway, her mom's name on the screen. She answered, bracing herself. "Emma, what's this I hear about you snooping around Kaleb?" Julie's voice was sharp. "Lily saw you called the county. You're stirring up things that don't need stirring." Emma took a breath. "He's family, Mom. Someone's gotta care." Julie huffed. "You don't get it. Just drop it." The line went dead. Emma stared at her phone, the weight of her family's resistance sinking in. They didn't want her involved, but why? She wasn't sure what she was stepping into, but Kaleb's quiet question echoed in her ears. "You coming back?" She was. No matter what. Emma couldn't shake the image of Kaleb's dragon sketch. Every week, she made the drive from LA to Oxnard, her car becoming a familiar sight at the foster center. Those visits started quiet. Kaleb hunched over his paper, pencil scratching away, Emma sitting across from him with a smile and a few careful words. But bit by bit, he softened. One day, he slid a drawing her way, a spaceship soaring through a starry sky. "This one's cool," she said, tracing the lines with her finger. He nodded, a tiny smirk tugging at his lips. "I like space stuff." It wasn't much, but it felt like a door cracking open. They'd talk about his drawings, dragons, spaceships, even a goofy robot once, and Emma brought him a sketchbook on her third visit. His eyes lit up, fingers brushing the cover like it was treasure. She started imagining more than visits. Kaleb wasn't just a name on a file anymore. He was a kid with a spark, one her family had ignored for too long. Maybe she could be more than an aunt who popped in with pencils. Maybe she could give him a home. The thought scared her. She'd never planned for this, but it stuck. So, she called Clara, the social worker, and asked about next steps. "It's a big commitment," Clara warned, her voice kind but firm. "He's had a rough go. Takes time to trust." "You sure?" Emma wasn't sure of anything, but she nodded anyway. "I want to try." Word spread fast, though, and her family wasn't happy. Back in LA, her phone buzzed nonstop. Aunt Marge left a voicemail. "Emma, you're not cut out for this. Kids need stability, not your artsy chaos." Her dad, Tom, texted, "Think this through. It's not your place." Then her mom called, voice tight with frustration. "You're digging up old messes. Let it be." Emma tried to explain. Kaleb deserved better, someone who cared, but Julie cut her off. "You don't understand how complicated this is." Emma hung up, staring at her sketchbook-filled apartment. Complicated? Sure. But abandoning a kid felt worse. Then came the real twist. One Saturday, as Emma arrived at the center, Clara met her outside, looking uneasy. "Someone's here," she said. "Kaleb's mom." Emma's heart sank. "Rachel?" She hadn't seen her sister in years, not since that last strained holiday when Rachel had stumbled in, all apologies and excuses. Clara led her to the waiting area, and there she was, Rachel, slouched in a chair, her hoodie frayed, her face tired but defiant. She stood when she saw Emma, eyes narrowing. "You're the one visiting my kid?" Her voice was shaky, but sharp. Emma nodded, keeping calm. "Yeah, he's a good kid, Rachel." Rachel's jaw tightened. "He's mine. I want him back." The air felt thick. Kaleb peeked out from the playroom, his sketchbook clutched tight, watching them. Clara stepped in. "Rachel, we need to talk about what's best for him." But Rachel ignored her, locking eyes with Emma. "You think you're better than me?" Swooping in like some hero. Emma took a breath. "I'm not trying to take him from you. I just want him safe." Rachel scoffed, but there was hurt in it. "I'm his mom," she muttered, then turned away, leaving the words hanging. Kaleb shuffled over after she left, his head down. "She's mad," he said quietly. Emma knelt beside him. "She's figuring stuff out. But I'm here, okay." He looked up, uncertain, then held out his latest drawing, a dragon shielding a tiny spaceship. "For you," he said. Emma smiled, her heart swelling. "It's perfect." Back home, her phone lit up again, her mom, furious. Rachel called. "You're making this worse." Emma set it down, staring at Kaleb's gift. Her family could push all they wanted, but she wasn't backing down. Not now. Not when Kaleb was starting to trust her. Emma's life had become a balancing act. Weekends in Oxnard with Kaleb, weekdays juggling design deadlines in LA, and a family that wouldn't let up. Her apartment was now dotted with his drawings, dragons and spaceships pinned to the fridge, a growing gallery of his quiet brilliance. She'd started the process to become his guardian, filling out forms that felt endless and meeting with Clara to prove she could handle it. "You're doing great with him," Clara said one afternoon, flipping through her notes. "He's opening up." "That's huge." Emma smiled, but the weight of it all lingered. She wasn't just fighting for Kaleb, she was fighting her own doubts. Her family made it harder. The calls kept coming. Aunt Marge insisted, "You're in over your head, Emma. Kids need more than sketchbooks." Her dad emailed a long lecture about family roles, hinting she was stepping on toes. And her mom? Julie cornered her over the phone one night. "Rachel's a wreck because of you. She deserves a chance." Emma gripped the receiver, steadying her voice. "Kaleb deserves a chance too, Mom." "Why is that so hard to see?" Julie sighed, exasperated. "You're tearing us apart." Emma hung up, staring at a dragon sketch Kaleb had left her. Tearing them apart? They'd done that themselves by forgetting him. Then Rachel upped the stakes. She showed up at the foster center unannounced during one of Emma's visits, her hoodie swapped for a wrinkled blouse like she'd tried to pull herself together. Kaleb was mid-drawing, a robot this time, when she burst in, Clara trailing behind. "I'm his mom," Rachel said, her voice loud but shaky. "I want him with me." Kaleb froze, pencil hovering, eyes darting to Emma. Clara stepped in. "Rachel, we've talked about this. It's not that simple." But Rachel turned to Emma, pleading now. "You're stealing him. He's all I've got left." Emma's heart twisted. Rachel looked lost, not cruel, but she stood firm. "I'm not stealing. I'm here because he needs someone steady." The custody hearing loomed, and Emma prepped like it was her biggest design pitch. She gathered letters, her boss praised her reliability, a neighbor gushed about her kindness, friends vouched for her warmth. But her family fought back. Julie and Tom sent a note to the court, claiming Emma was too independent to raise a kid. Rachel showed up too, rambling about second chances, though her words faltered under the judge's gaze. Emma sat there, palms sweaty, wondering if she'd lose him. Then came the moment that changed everything. The judge, a stern woman with sharp eyes, called Kaleb forward. He shuffled up, clutching a drawing, a dragon curled around a spaceship, safe and strong. "What's this?" she asked. Kaleb's voice was small but clear. "It's me and Emma. She makes me feel not alone." The room went quiet. Emma's throat tightened, pride and hope mixing in her chest. Then a surprise, her cousin Jake, who'd stayed silent through the family drama, stepped in. "Emma's the only one who showed up for him," he said, his voice steady. "The rest of us didn't." The judge nodded, scribbling something. When the ruling came, it was quick. "Custody granted to Ms. Crow," the judge said, her tone final. Rachel slumped, tears streaking her face, but she didn't argue. Julie and Tom sat stone-faced, their objections crumbling. Emma turned to Kaleb, who ran to her, his sketchbook still in hand. "We did it," she whispered, hugging him tight. Outside the courtroom, Rachel lingered. "Take care of him," she said softly, then walked away. Emma watched her go, a pang of sadness fading into relief. Her family's resistance had lost its grip. She and Kaleb were a team now, unbreakable, with a future to build. Emma's LA apartment felt different now, smaller, but fuller. Kaleb moved in the day after the hearing, his sketchbooks and a duffel bag of clothes turning her spare room into his own little galaxy. She'd painted the walls a soft gray, hung a corkboard for his drawings, and added a desk where his pencils soon scattered. The first night, they made spaghetti. Half the noodles stuck to the pot, but they laughed through the mess, sauce smudging his cheek. "This is home now?" he asked, twirling a fork. Emma grinned. "Yeah, kid. This is home." His shy smile said more than words ever could. Life settled into a rhythm. Mornings were chaos, Kaleb dragging his feet to get ready for school, Emma tossing him a granola bar as they raced out the door. But afternoons glowed. He'd come home with sketches, dragons, robots, once even a goofy cartoon of her with a superhero cape. She enrolled him in an art class at a local community center, and his talent bloomed. One Saturday, he bounded in, waving a certificate. "I won first place," he shouted, showing off a drawing of a spaceship dodging asteroids. Emma hooped, lifting him in a hug. "You're unstoppable." They celebrated with pizza, his pride lighting up the room. Her family stayed distant. The phone call stopped after the hearing, replaced by a chilly silence. Julie sent one text, "You've made your choice," and that was it. Emma didn't mind. She tried to explain Kaleb's worth, but they'd chosen their pride over him. It stung, sure, but she had a new focus now. Then Rachel reached out. A letter arrived, scribbled in shaky pen. "I'm sorry, Emma, for everything. I'm working on me, classes, meetings. Keep him safe." Emma showed it to Kaleb, letting him decide. "Maybe later," he said, tucking it in a drawer. She nodded. "Whenever you're ready." Rachel's steps forward were hers to take. Emma's job was Kaleb's present, not her sister's past. The community stepped up where family didn't. Neighbors dropped by, Mrs. Lopez with cookies, the guy down the hall with a spare lamp for Kaleb's desk. At school, his teacher called Emma in. "He's shining," she said. "That art contest win. It's boosted him." Emma beamed. Later, they took a weekend trip to Santa Monica. Kaleb ran to the waves, shoes soaked, laughing as they built a lopsided sandcastle. "Can we come back?" he asked, clutching a seashell. "Anytime," she promised. Those moments, salty air, his grin, were worth every fight. One evening, as they taped drawings into a scrapbook, his journey from foster care to now, Kaleb paused. "You're my real family," he said, glue sticking to his fingers. Emma's eyes prickled, but she kept it light. "You're mine too, bud." He smirked, smearing glue on her hand. "Hey," she laughed, flicking some back. They ended up in a giggling mess, the scrapbook a wild collage of their chaos. It wasn't perfect, homework battles and late nights proved that, but it was theirs. Her family whispered from afar, gossip trickling through old friends. She's playing hero. Rachel's the victim. Emma let it roll off. She didn't need their nods. She saw Kaleb's confidence grow, his sketches win praise, his trust in her deepen. Cousin Jake called once, apologetic. "They're wrong about you," he said. "You did good." She thanked him, but kept her circle tight. Rachel's letter stayed in the drawer, a quiet hope for someday. That night, as Kaleb slept, his latest dragon sketch on the nightstand, Emma looked around. Her selfish life wasn't empty. It was full of him. They'd built something real, something strong. And that was all the approval she'd ever need.